Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ha, Rocha, Kodash, Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Double honors to my elder apostle, Aharaman Ban Yasharala of the Lions Den Camp here in Florida. Shalom to the sincere Akim pushing his truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. Nakar Harab Ban Yasharala, coming out of the Lions Den Camp of Yasharala here in Jacksonville, Florida. Not today. I'll be coming out a lesson and it's on this article. And it had popped up on my feed real quick, so I looked into it, and it says here Russia and China pledge support for Venezuela as Trump ratchets up pressure on Maduro because we know the truth of why Ishaw is over there in the Caribbean Sea, or President Babylon is over there, or at least the army, or the we'll say the armed forces or the military is over there in the Caribbean Sea around Venezuela. For one, you puffing that in, and for two, that little thing called RC, and I don't mean Royal Crown or Royal Crown soda. I mean what regime change RC. That's what I'm talking about. And that's this whole little, that's why this debacle is happening. But nonetheless, let's get some scriptures. Read this article first and then get some scriptures. It says, Salakia, China and Venezuela have expressed support for China and Russia, Salakia, have expressed support for Venezuela as it confronts a U.S. blockade of sanctioned oil tankers, while Donald Trump continues to ramp up pressure on the South American countries, President Nicolas Maduro. It says amid reports of slowing activity at Venezuelan ports, the U.S. president again called for Maduro to leave power and reiterated that the U.S. would keep or sell the oil it had seized off the coast of Venezuela in recent weeks. And it says, and that's his response right there, but I'm going to keep reading. And it says, after Trump announced a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela last week, tanker loading at the country's ports has slowed, with most ships moving oil cargoes only between domestic ports. The number of loaded tankers that have not departed has increased in recent days, leaving millions of barrels of Venezuelan oil stuck aboard ships, while customers demand deeper discounts and contract changes to take risky voyages beyond the country's waters. Yeah, man. President Babylon, or i.e. the devil, the physical counterpart, is in full effect, doing what he does, which is cause problems and chaos in the earth. It says China's foreign ministry said Monday that the seizure of another country's ships was a serious violation of international law. Of course. And it says after the U.S. intercepted a China-bound oil tanker, off the Venezuelan coast on Saturday. The tanker, which the White House said was a part of Venezuela's shadow fleet carrying sanctioned oil, was not currently sanctioned by the U.S. However, Panama's foreign minister said that the supertanker Centuries was flying Panama's flag when intercepted on Saturday. Didn't respect the country's maritime rules and had altered its name and disconnected its transponder while carrying an oil cargo out of Venezuela. I don't know this. Whoever wrote this, they might need to learn how to write it. So I'm gonna edit. It says Venezuela has the right to develop relations with other countries. China's foreign minister spokesperson Lin Jian said at a daily press briefing that China opposes all unilateral and illegal sanctions. And that's true. And that's what's been happening with a lot of these other countries. That big Satan has been trying to put sanctions on. They like, ha ha, F your sanctions, and still doing business and going around the whore that sits upon many waters. The whore that sits upon the scarlet covered beast. But let's continue. China is the biggest buyer of Venezuelan crude oil, which accounts for roughly 4% of its 4% Slovakia of its oil imports. This is on Monday. The foreign minister of Russia and Venezuela criticized the U.S. actions, which have also included strikes on alleged, we'll say, substance trafficking Slovakia boats. And on Sunday, they targeted of a third tanker. So this devil is just really over there causing problems. That's what this devil does. That's what he was created to do. Just the Russian Foreign Ministry said Ivan Gil and Sergei Lavrov expressed deep concern over the escalation of Washington's actions in the Caribbean Sea. It says which could have serious consequences for the region and threaten international shipping. Of course, devil knows what he's doing. The Russian side affirmed its full support for solidarity with the Venezuelan leadership and people in the current context. It says the empty supertanker Bella 1, which the U.S. Coast Guard tried to intercept on Sunday when the ship approached Venezuela, was drifting on Monday northeast of the Caribbean. A satellite image obtained by the tanker tracker showed that. It says a U.S. official told Reuters on Sunday the tanker had not been boarded. Trump claims Venezuela under Maduro is using oil money to finance drug terrorism, and that's just those destructive words that Ottawa like to use. And it says human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping. They were pot caught in the kettle black. Let's continue. It says uh, U.S. forces since September launched strikes on boats that Washington claims, without evidence, of course, have trafficked drugs in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific Ocean. More than 100 people have been killed. Some of them, most of them, fishermen, according to their families and governments. Caracas, in turn, fears Washington is seeking regime change. Yep, that's the RC word. And has accused Washington of international piracy. And that's really what's going on. Like, we see it in real time. This devil is showing his horns more, you know. Uh, but let's continue. I don't want to. Oh, it's the end right here, so I don't want to talk too much. But anyways, on Monday, Maduro fired back, saying the U.S. president would be better off focusing on domestic issues rather than threatening Caracas in a speech broadcast on television. And that's just and that's just that's it is what it
and the
is.
YouTube music.
You know, this devil is over there doing the tomfoolery. This is Psalms chapter 10, verse 5. It says, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. And that's what this devil does. His ways are always grievous. And what's going on right now? He's causing grievousness for Venezuela, which that's Jake. That's why he going so hard, because Venezuelans are Israelites. I forget what what of the northern tribes, whichever one they from, but they still Jake. That's why this devil is going so hard like that. You can even take it up a verse, a couple few, to verse 2, and it says, the wicked in his pride does persecute the poor. Let them be taken into the devices that they have imagined. So this devil using the brigandine, the army, his power, his military force to persecute the poor. Venezuela's crude oil deposits, astronomically rich. But as far as like having like just like Venezuela is not a real rich country. It has plenty substance, but you have this devil in the way. So this devil is what persecuting the poor. He's persecuting our this devil stay persecuting our people, you know. And eventually he's gonna be taken in the same devices that he has imagined. All the wickedness and the evil things that he thinks that he's going to put into play and have other people fall victim to it, he's gonna be the main one to fall victim to it. Now let's go back down to verse 5. His ways are always grievous, but when it comes down to the Lord's judgments, they are well far beyond out of this devil's sight. And anybody that considered an enemy or this devil considers an enemy, what he does, he puff at them, he pokes at them, he jabs at them, like you not gonna do nothing. What you gonna do? You know, that's what he do. Verse 7. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So this devil's mouth is what is full of cursing, full of evil, destructive words and deceit, lies, and fraud. Meaning he don't never ever intend to do what he says he intend to do unless it's wickedness and somebody is falling victim to his wickedness. He intends to do that. But under this devil's tongue is mischief and vanity, always up to something, and uselessness. Let's continue. Let's see. And this is an impromptu, by the way, so I don't got nothing wrote down. Let's continue. So like, let me grab a little bit of warmness for the tea. There we go. Uh, let's continue. This is Psalms 36, verse 2. It says, "For he flattereth himself in his own eyes until his iniquity be found to be hateful." So this devil, he flattereth himself in his own eyes. He pats himself on the back. He bigs himself up in his own eyes until his iniquity, his ungodly, immoral doings, is eventually found to be hateful. And we're in that, and we see that now. These other nations is tired of Ottawan. They're tired of Ishaw ruling. They think they're going to rule, but it's really Yasha Allah's turn. And once Yasha Allah get in the seat, ain't nobody else getting in the seat. But let's continue. That's how this devil move. He does everything wrong and nothing right. All right, let me read a couple of more scriptures and I'm gonna end it. This is let's see. This is Psalms 50 and 19. It says, "Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit." So this devil, he gives his mouth to evil, and his tongue frames deceit. His tongue frames lies. The devil love to speak destructive, harsh words that that kill, and it is what it is, proverbially or actually physically. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother and slanderest thy own mother's son. That's what this devil does. He sits and he speaks against Yasha Allah, but he's taking it up a notch as well. He sits and speaks against these other nations, even himself. He slanderous his own mother's son. This devil slanders his own brother. Who is this devil's brother? Jacob and Esau. We Jacob, the Negroes, the Latinos, and the Native Americans. Yasha Allah, Israel, because Jacob's name was eventually, after he wrestled with the angel, at some point his name was changed from Jacob to Israel. He's a prince of the power. Let's continue. Uh, Psalms 52, verse 2. Thy tongue this deviseth mischiefs, like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness. Thou lovest all devouring tongues, O thou deceitful tongue. So this devil, his tongue, what deviseth mischiefs? He comes up with things to get you crossed up and in trouble, like a sharp razor. And we know razors are very sharp, so sharp that if you were to actually be cut by one and you don't notice it, you'll be split open and bleeding, and you won't notice it until you look down. That's how dangerous this devil's words are. If you ain't armored up through the power and spirit of Yahweh Shah, and you don't have the protection of the Lord, and you not being circumspect and paying attention to this devil, his words will hurt you, and they work deceitfully. So he tell lies. He's the father of lies. This devil loves evil more than he loves good, and he would rather lie than to speak righteousness. His tongue loves all devouring words, anything that assassinates your character, defames your character, uh, that makes you look bad in a negative light. This devil, he's all for it. That's what his tongue is for. That's what he uses his tongue for. Uh, let's continue. It was one something else I was looking for. But this devil is gonna get a recompense. The Lord not already set this devil in slippery places where he can't get his footing. So no matter the fact that this devil is throwing tantrums and causing problems in the earth, don't mean he gonna sustain himself. So let's continue. It says, yep, I think it's like so like it's something I was looking for. I think I'm almost there. My last point. So like for the pause. Oh, I ain't got there yet. This is Psalms 120 and 3, because again this devil, he loves to tell lies and he loves to speak unrighteous things. But this is Psalms 120 and verse 3. It says, what shall be given unto thee, or what shall be done unto thee, thou false tongue? So what is going to be given unto this devil? What shall be done unto this devil for his false tongue, for him speaking untruths or lies? Now, if you read the introduction of this was King David, a psalm by King David against Doeg, the Edomite. I meant the Ottawamite. And of course, again, this is what shall be given unto one that lies, that speaks false things. Last point, verse 4. Sharp arrows of the mighty with coals of juniper. That means judgment, destruction. That's exactly what that means. So, we see things happening here and there with these articles. And we also notice through the spirit that we pick up that this devil has talking points and trigger words. And those talking points or trigger words, a lot of the times, they're lies. And guess what? Sharp arrows of the mighty with coals of juniper, i.e., wrath, is going to come upon this devil. And ain't nothing he can do about it. And his power structure. So, yeah, and with that, we ain't got no more. Shalom.